Share responsible Nishva Sav Yaakov Shalom Lab Asitzchok. We're learning about Kamadav Samechalef. We got yesterday to the Mishnah. Mishnah in a third down the page. So to mention one more time, we mentioned it briefly in the end of the daf yesterday. The Gemara brought right before the Mishnah this idea that David Abel now would have mentioned Divrei Torah for the people that sacrificed their life for Divrei Torah. He didn't want to mention he didn't mention their name. So the Marashah, the Chidush HaGodes over here, the Vilna Goyim, the Ben Yoyada, they all explain, because a person needs to live with the Torah of this world. Have a Torah that you died for, so it's out of this world. The way the Goyim says it, he says, we know that David Abel Davin, Agur Bo'alecha Olamim. I want to live in both worlds. I want my Torah to be heard in both worlds. Olam Hazin and Olam Haba. Person who's willing to kill himself in this world, he doesn't really care about Olam Hazin. So therefore, you don't mention Divrei Torah in his name. Those like the Vilna Goyim. But as we mentioned, Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen, in the name of Rabbi B'Shizcha, and also the Sasebes that always bring in, Rabbi B'Shizcha says the Pshat is different. It's also Rabbi Margolius brings it as well, not in their name. So the idea is when you say a Torah, not in the name of an individual, the Torah becomes a kololius Torah. We know when Rebbe wanted to pass, that's what Rabbi Margolius brings. When Rebbe wants to pass like a certain Tana, he does Stam Mishnah, like just the Stam Mishnah, doesn't say it, mention the name. When I take away the name, it becomes something it's not individualized. Not this guy said it. It belongs to Klal Yisrael. So the way Rabbi Shishka says that the people that sacrifice their life for Torah, the Torah is not anymore theirs. You don't say their name. He said it. It's a Torah of Klal Yisrael. So you don't mention their name. And he says, that's the Pshat. Tzadok says, that's the Pshat. The Pashtet Tzaveh says the Moshe Rabbeinu's name was not mentioned. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, if you don't listen to my tefillah, if you don't save Am Yisrael, just erase me. So the Laturim brings in begin Pashtet Tzaveh. So Kilos Chacham Afilu Al Chinam Iba. He said a klal to himself. So he worked. He was erased from one parasha. But Tzadok says that the pshat is that he sacrificed himself for Klal Yisrael. He was willing to kill himself for Klal Yisrael. So one parasha, you don't mention his name. It's just stama. Kiviyoko stama the Gemara. That's what he says. Beautiful idea of that Tzadok says in this Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Over Godosh Shu Gavoya Dal Damis Oidech Rabim Oinohor Potter. Yeah, so we're speaking here about the sugis of fire, and if you have a fire that crosses a fence, which is 4 amas, or a space of derech harabim, which is, as Rashi points out, 16 amot, the size of Rishus Harabim, or nahar, in all these cases of patur, and the simple understanding is the fire is not meant to go through that. It's something which he is not expected to be. It's not part of the expectations what a fire is going to do. Says the Gemara, V'atanyo, over Godosh Shu Gavoya Arba Amas Chayav. We have a fair shabraiso that if you pass the fence which is 4 amas high, the fire, he is Chayav. Or Tana is counting from the higher number to the lower number. 6 amas, the fence is too high for the fire to go through. 5 amas is potter, is also potter. Ad Arba Amas potter. So Arba Amas means add until Arba Amas, until you reach Arba Amas. Tana Bro, we'll get to that in a moment. Tana Bro, the time of the Braiso, Milamato Lamal Kachashim. Shtei Amas Chayav. A fence 2 amas is not high enough. Sholosh Amas Chayav. Ad Arba Amas Chayav. Until Arba Amas you Chayav. So when we're saying that you have Arba Amas, depends what you're counting. Up to Arba Amas you Chayav. From Arba Amas you put. What about Arba Amas exactly? So it's not so clear for the Gemara. We did not mention what is it. Toys brings a gears over here that Adar Ba'amis, there's one of the prices says Adar Ba'amis, and one does not say Adar Ba'amis, it says Ar Ba'amis. So Ad V'lo Ad B'chlal or Ad B'chlal, what to go and play around with the Lashonis. But that's not our gears. So according to our gears, we're counting up to Ar Ba'amis and up down to Ar Ba'amis. We're not referring to Ar Ba'amis exact for Ar Ba'amis, we're not mentioning that. Says the Gemara, the 4 amas, they said, is even mizdeh koitzim, even when you have thorns, which pashas means that it's easy for the fire, it's more flammable, the fire it spreads easily, still 4 ametz is potter. The 4 ametz is from the edge of the thorns, you have 4 ametz high. It's not 4 ametz from the floor, because you have to, when it flames the fire, that's the height that you're referring to. From here above that, you have to have 4 ametz. What's the height of the fire? So that the Gemara does not refer to. That Tosfos refers to, the other Rishonim. Tosfos says that the fire reached the height of the fence. The fire is 4 ametz. What? Because it brings you right from the Hemshech Gemara. But that's Tosfos learns the sugya. The fire what we said is only the koitzim that the fire is burning. That's, you have to be 4 ametz from there to get to the height of the fence in order to say you have protection of the fire. The fire should be the height of the fence. And not more. What's the difference between kolachas and nikfefes? So Rashi says, kolachas, eish shekoilech mitamer v'oyle l'malo. It's a fire that's going up straight, a straight line up. That's kolachas. What is nikfefes? Look Rashi, sharuach mate oiso v'koifo l'tzdodim u'mafsik ha'shalheves v'doleges lo shel moyer. Meaning it's bending down, it's turning, it's not going in a straight line up, but it's like a little bit of jumping up and down. It doesn't have a straight line. Lishtachrin, says Rashi, the nikfefes, what it is eish nemucho leches v'nisreches ba'asovim uveksomish gebekarka. It's a low fire which is spreading on low on the ground. Why is it chayav? Because it spreads very easily. So the kolachas means a straight line up, it's a straight fire. Nikfefes either is going in turns, or it means it's a low fire that spreads very easily. But the point is that it's something which is spreading much more. So what is the Gemara saying? By kolachas you have 4 ametz. Nikfefes ad 100 amochayev, even 100 amochayev, because that fire spreads easily. Our Mishnah says 4 ametz. We talk about the fire that spreads easily. If it goes up in a straight line, if I have a fence, even a small fence, that's good enough to protect you from the fire. So what I can say, the rabbi meant to more in bikolachas. Dafka, if it goes up a straight line, it bends or it's low. There's wood over there. So you talk about me'amil. So here, as the first you point out, that the Gemara before said me'amu, and now we're saying me'amil. So Tosfos says that others say that me'amil speaks of the distance. Me'amil means it spreads out, as Rashi we mentioned says it goes in shuzarab, it goes from place to place. And me'amil refers to the height. So Yeshiva is, do you have any limitation in terms of the height or in terms of the distance? And it depends which type of fire it is. According to Rav, if it's a nikfefes, which means it burns, it spreads out, so I have no limitation. Overall, no, if it goes through a river or a shlulis, which you'll see it's a puddle of water, and it has 8 amo width, so then then it's not supposed to cross it. But Pashtis, this is talking about which fire? We're talking about the fire of kolachas. That when it goes up, it goes through the 8 amos. That's what you have to protect. Says the Gemara. Derech Rabbi, Matan, who's the Madoma who quotes Derech Rabbi? Omer Rabbi Blozi, Tanya Blozi, Oimer, Sheshes Amo Kedech Shus Rabbi. And our gifts over here is potter, and they bring on the side the gifts you take away the potter. So what do you bring a raya? You bring a raya that the size of Shus Rabbi is a ptur for the fire when it goes through it. It's enough of a distance that you're not supposed to assume the fire goes through.
You're using the Harabim just to tell you it's 16? Otherwise, you could just write 16 or the Harabim means the Harabim.
Good child. I'm trying to figure out if there is a right, because the Gemara is going to bring later. Let's see the Hemshech Gemara. The Gemara is going to bring later regarding Derech Yochid, and I'm wondering, because it's going to be a ride from Peyo. Let's see if it's going to be a ride from there. I don't know. So, The Lashon Rashi sounds 16 Amma. Okay, maybe because I don't know.
You don't need the Gemara here to tell you what the Rosh Hashanah is.
Yeah.
So there's a point in writing Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, because you could say that means that there's nothing for it to catch fire on. It's a straight open thing. Yeah. Okay, let's see, because the Gemara is going to speak about different distances. We'll see in a moment. Oy Nor, what is Nor? So we said, Rav Omar Nor Mamish. We're talking about a river. The Shmuel Omar Arisa the Loi, which is a small Yeor, Rashi says, small lake where they take out water from in order to water the field. Mando Mano Mamish, Avagad the lake of mine. Don't have to have actual water. It has to be a place of water. And that's enough to stop the fire from going through, even though right now it's dry. He said the Loi, which is not talking about a real place of water, only if you have water, it's established for the fire, not if it doesn't have water. Says the Gemara, Toys over here, that even though Shusarab you have to have 16 amma, here 8 amma is enough when we talk about a river, because the river, first of all, it's deep, it says Toys, but the other thing is, because sometimes water goes through it, it's like a little cool, has moist in it, and that's what takes away the fire.
Is this still need 8 amos like before?
Yeah. This is explaining the 8 hours before. It's really more talking about that quote. Over no, that's what we're talking about. Says the Gemara Tanan also, Peilum of Sikin Lepeo. So this is a Mishnah Masechs Peil, that you have things that stop for Peil. What does it mean stop for Peil? When you have one field, you make one Peil on the field. If you have a few fields, every field it requires to have its own Peil. What is considered to be a new field? You have a field here, and then you have some kind of a break. What is a break, or for it to be considered? Then now you're starting a new field. Hanachal, it's a river. Ve'ashluli, as we mentioned before, is the type of a puddle. I'm going to explain about. You have a way of a yochid, a way of the rabbi. My shluli, what is shlulis? It's a place where the rain, or puddle, by the way, this is modern Hebrew too. Today, when you say a puddle, when the kids play in the puddle, what do you call a puddle of water of rain in the street? It's called shlulit. That's what you call a modern Hebrew.
If you have like a little ditch in your field and then the water collects it, that's enough of a
Yeah. So you say you want to know how much water needs to be in it. You say,
yeah.
What's the amount? But I would say this is the same as swar. Pashas means puddle that you have in the middle. You have one rain as a puddle. Talk about that in general. That's where the water gathers. It's a place of gathering water. The water of the rain goes to there. So as we see many times throughout Shas, what's amasamayim? Amasamayim, there was this the irrigation system they had in the fields. It was an amo by amo size that would go through the field. It's like a water that goes through there, and that amasamayim is spreading water, and that's where we talk about stops the fire. A place where it gathers water. So of course, amasamayim will be a chaluko. When you have rain gathering to one place, that's not a hefsek. Why not? Because they are now in the Avsachal base, Bagne de Aro Mikri. It's considered to be the holes of the ground. It's part of the ground. Part of this field is you have some water in the area. It's like a golf course. You have a little water, that's where the water's standing. It's not considered to be a division. So you have, like, between every field, between every garden, you have that irrigation system, and that separates the field into two. So the Gemara over here mentions this, why? Nothing to do with the fire. We mentioned Derech HaRabim, so we mentioned also a Gabi. It's a Dugmo Be'almo that we see a separation that happens to Derech HaRabim. Therese brings over here the different svaras that why should there be a difference between Derech HaRabim and Derech HaYochid. Each one has his own chiddush. But the Chor does not get the fire at all. The fire is only Derech HaRabim. You go back to the question, really, is it talking about 16 amo because of this titz, or 16 amo because of specifically Rabim? Chor Mashma, in Rabim, it's a place where you don't have anything for the fire to catch onto. Okay, Zog the Mishnah. Hamati b'tuch shaloi at kama ta'avor ad leiko. How much did leiko go, and in order for it to be responsible for it, meaning what distance the fire need to go, and then you say that he's chayav an ish. What is it? You're looking at it as if it's the middle of the base score. As Rashi says, look at the first Rashi. Right? Talk about you have chatzikur to every space. So from here on, we're not supposed to expect the fire to spread on. Continues Rashi and says, talk about it's a regular fire that goes straight up. That's what we saw before. That the folding or the spreading fire is different. Talk about a regular fire that goes up. So there's a certain distance I'm supposed to assume that fire will go to. If I have a chatzi base score for every distance, I'm not supposed to assume that the fire is going to go over there. Rabbi Lozo Oimer Tetzayin Amis Kedosh Rabbi. The size of Rabbi. Rabbi Kiva Oimer Chamish Shimam. 50 amas enough. Shimon Oimer Shalim Sharam Navir Esam Heiro Hakor Lefi Adleiko. It depends on the Adleiko. And the Gemara is going to explain what does it mean. Rashi says the Havamim of the Gemara is that you always have to pay. Hakor Lefi Adleiko, you're responsible for the Adleiko. So says the Gemara, if Shimon Shuru Adleiko, Shimon doesn't hold the Surah B'alta, you're not chayav anymore. It says the Mishnah, Lo Yamin Odom Tonu B'toich HaBayis, you should not put an oven in the house, Elim Kedesh Al Gaboi Dal Amis. Unless you have 4 amis of a wall of a height in order to make sure that the oven does not burn the roof on top of it. Hayama Amidu Beli, if it's on the roof, on the second floor, you need to have a flooring of 3 tvachim in order for it to be a separation, not to allow the oven to burn the floor. Kira is an oven which is not as hot. Tanur has only a place to put 1 pot. Kira has a place to put 2 pots. So the heat is spread out. The tanur goes in a shape of a triangle, so it gets very, very hot. So if there you don't have to have 3 tefachim in the body, you have to have 1 tefach. If he did mazik, he needs to pay what he was mazik. Says the Gemara, Shimon Aimer, meaning even if he did, just explain, even if he did the distance, if he did that, he's still chayav. You need to do that as a minimum amount, is required for you as a protection. But if at the end of the day, the protection did not work, you still have to pay. Shimon Aimer, they sure are telling you that that's enough, that's a protection to make sure that the fire will not go through. And if you're not supposed to assume it's going to go through once you did it. So what do you see? You see that Shimon says, if I have a certain distance, a certain protection, I'm fine. I don't have to pay for it once I did that protection. So why here I'm sure it just says you chayav every time you did a fire. So they want to know. I thought what Shimon saying. Depends on the height of the fire. The higher the fire, the further it goes. So if you have a very high fire, it's going to go to a further direction. If you have a lesser fire, it goes to a lesser direction. Now they're going to the story. Shimon said, that what? They go based on the height. There's no rules. You have 50 amo, half a core. There's no rules. You go based on the size of the tliko. So the Mishnah. So now we're coming to the case of Tomun Beish. Someone lights a Godish, and there is vessels in the Godish. And it gets burnt. You have to pay what's in it. As we saw earlier, Rabbi holds that Tomun, you chayav on Tomun. You're only responsible for the outside layer of wheat or barley. So this we saw earlier. This we saw in Daf Beis. If you have a goat who's tied up to the Godish, and you have a slave which is right near the Godish, and he's burned. Why is he chayav? He's chayav on the Gdi and on the Godish, but he's patur on the Eved because the Eved should have run away. That we saw earlier. What is that? The Eved is there, and you see fire, you should run away. If you have the slave is tied up, and he can run away, and even though and the gdi is samuch loy, finisef ema potter. Why you potter? Because of kim le b'derabba mini. Kim le mini, you potter on the gdi. Rashi brings over here to the Shayus earlier to his brother as well.
The gdi is loose, no?
In this case, D is loose.
So why can't they say the same surah? The gdi should be running.
Oh, so this is what I was trying to get to. So in this case, you say kim le it doesn't matter if he's supposed to run away.
No,
but in the previous case,
that means it's chiyuv. So technically, there would be a chiyuv.
there would be a chiyuv. Oh, so there would be a chiyuv. The previous case speaks about gdi. When he said you're chayov, it says the gdi is kofus. So it says Rashi, why is the gdi kofus? So Rashi brings two explanations. One explanation is the gdi kofus come to tell you because if the gdi is not kofus, it should run away. The same thing you say by evet. And the second Lisha says no. I don't say about an animal that it needs to run away. It tries to run away, but it gets stuck. It doesn't know how to protect itself, and therefore, even if it's not tied up, you're still chayav on the gdi. So when it says over here gdi samuch lo, he's not dafka and none of kamina. Someone who lights a house, so you have to pay for everything inside it. Because people do put things into the house. What's the shaykhs to what we said over here? We just said you potter b'talmud. So the Gemara is going to explain. This is what the Gemara is going to come explain. What is exactly the definition of the machlokes of running Rabbi Yehuda regarding talmud? Omar Kana machlokes b'madik b'toch shloi v'hocho v'hochlo b'sor shel chaveru. Our machlokes is regarding talmud. Someone who lights in his own property, and it goes and it burns in the property of his friend. Rabbi Yehuda says you chayav talmud. Rabbi Yehuda says you potter talmud. If you light in your friend's property, so then you pay the entire thing. Why do you pay the entire thing? So Zok Rashi, you're Ma'amid Shabbos. What are you doing? You put a fire into the house. There's a discussion over here in the Mefarshim. Is this goes to the man Doma Ishu B'Shu Chitzov or Ishu B'Shu Amoyin? Ishu B'Shu Chitzov is Yom HaShiur. So I say if I light it in my place. If my place went out, so I have dini mavesh. If I do it with my friends, I don't say it because it's your mamash mazik biyadayim. What happens if you hold ishu b'shuv? Someone to say that even if if you do it the chutzah of your friend, then you're responsible. That's considered to be that you created that issue. Okay.
No, the Gemara doesn't like what we had before. The Gemara doesn't say b'rishus. Like we said b'shara, even they said b'rishus. It was the chatzah chaver b'rishus v'lay b'rishus. Here it doesn't say b'rishus v'lay b'rishus.
Yeah, because nobody can put fire. We're talking about shaykhs. We're talking about a case you're not supposed to do the fire over there.
You're not supposed to fire.
Yeah, you're not supposed to know. So there's no din talmud when you light in your fires in your friend's property. Look at that. And then the next part of the Mishnah. When you light a house, so you have to pay everything. Because people put it in the house. The one that doesn't explain yet why derech anoshim makes a difference. But if you did in your own property, went to someone else's property. By your friend, you always have to pay. Why are you mentioning biro? Taisus already points out the biro would be a problem anyway, because you learn till now that you're not having told. So why are you having biro anyway? So the Gemara doesn't understand what's how do you explain biro? Hello, my brother, bit tired to play. There's two machlekes in between Rabban and Rabbi Yehuda. One machlekes is if a person lights a fire in his own property and then it goes and it burns someone else's one. That's what we learned till now. That's what the Gemara brought a few times throughout the Masechta. Rabbi Yehuda holds you potter and Talmud, and Rabban say Chayav and Talmud. Says the Gemara, what happens when you light in your friend's property? Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to pay everything, including things that are not supposed to be there, like walls. Things that you normally put in the godish, which is different tools that you use in the sadeh. That's the normal thing you put it over there. Rashi says murigin is wood, pieces of wood. Whatever you're not dark begodish is not mishal. Right? That's the so in other words, two machlekes. One machlekes is do you chayav and talmud when you're doing from your own place? Number two, when you're chayav and talmud for everything, or you chayav and talmud only what's normally to put over there. Now you understand biro. Rabbanan say by biro, by house, you will put everything in the house. So whatever's in the house, you're chayav. Whatever is normal to put in the house. So as really Taisha says it already, but the Achronim point out that really Machlekes Rabban and Rabbi Yudo is what is the definition of Tamun? How do you define it? Rabbi Yudo says the Torah says you're chayav and everything. There's no p'tur by ish. No such thing. So you mean the Torah says you're chayav. I have no p'tur. I'm chayav and everything. I'm chayav in a godish. Whatever is inside the godish, I don't care if you know what to put in the godish, not know what to put in the godish. Rabbanan say no. There is a p'tur of Tamun. But the P'tur of Tamun only applies when you're in your Rishos. And now, a person in Rishos, you don't have the P'tur of Tamun, because it's considered to be that you went and damaged B'yadai. But you're only chayav as much as you are supposed to know what you're doing. It's not going back to the Indian of Ish. It's coming back to the fact that you don't have the P'tur of Tamun. Why now? Why don't you have the P'tur of Tamun? Because here you're responsible. You lit a fire in someone else's property. You're responsible for everything you're doing. I'm responsible for everything I'm supposed to know. You made something random, you put into a godish, you put a piece of gold, I'm not supposed to know it. So it's not any more dinei eish, it's more of a svar. The one to say the medin eish is no chiyuv tamun, but you chayim it's that svar that you were in the property of your friend and you ruined something in the property of your friend, and therefore whatever you're supposed to know is supposed to know. And if you're not supposed to know, you're not. If you know rules, the dinei eish, you chayim and everything, there's no limitation. Therefore, you always chayim.
So if you're doing eish is not one out of your control. What's the difference?
If you did it in your friend's property, then you tell you there's no thing out of control.
But if you did it in your property, what's the shot tamun? You didn't know it was there.
Tamun.
Tamun.
No, Tamun is against the custom. According to Rabbanan, it's against the custom. Your potter. But when I did it in my friend's property, I say you're responsible. So I'm responsible for everything that's supposed to be there. Not supposed to be there. You know, even though you could say what kind of svar is it? I can put it in my place and my godish wherever I want. So like when I lit the fire, I took upon myself everything that's going to happen. I took it into account. I'm not supposed to think about something which is not there. The Torah's adds over here that the Torah is teaching you that there is a svar to your in Talmud. I'm saying even in the chutz of your friend where you don't have the svar, you do have the svar to a certain degree. Yeah, we learned from Oya Kama. I think more learned in the yesterday's half. Says the more. Let's teach a few more lines. Torah Rabbanan. Amadi Sagadish Vayu B'Kelim V'Dolko. So you light a godish and there's kelim inside. You have to pay the whole thing. You pay only for wheat or barley. You look at the empty space. You have a godish. You're not chayav on the tumah, but you're not saying you're potul legami. You assume that he looks at this pile as if it's full. So that area where you have kelim inside, you're not supposed to see it. You assume it to be chitim musayim, he pays that value. So the chitim musayim, whatever it's worth, you pay for that.
How can you pay something that doesn't exist?
It's not that it doesn't exist. You have to assume. You took upon yourself the chiyuv.
I have them there. They take the space. They take the space of whatever is supposed to be there.
So that's what it
So you
No, so the pshat is the person.
Something else is
no,
there?
the pshat is I took responsibility of that value. Kivyachol, the Torah says, when you have a empty space in the middle, and you say, okay, this is wheat. So how much is the space of this wheat? It's $10. You took upon yourself that responsibility for whatever's inside, because that you assume it's a solid space. Happens to be it's not $10, it's $1,000.
You can take responsibility now to tomorrow, but if you didn't actually mazik,
you're mazi.
No, you're not mazik.
You're mazik
Something else.
You're mazik something else. You're mazik at least $10 out of that. You're mazik $10 out of that. You take responsibility for the value which is worth luyutzu and everything will be
It's a
full.
big barrel, tumen, right? Empty big barrel. So you're going to take the size of the barrel and say, this is as if wheat was here.
No,
You pay
so
for that?
that's
what you're saying.
The chur work only in things that are supposed to be filled in. Meaning like a godish, I'm assuming it's filled in.
If it's a barrel, an empty
If
barrel.
it's meant to be empty, meant to be empty. But this kid meant to be empty, meant to be full.
No, but if he has an empty barrel hidden in the tour, he's responsible for the tour, the space of the tour.
Right. You're saying, it'll be a question you're asking. What happens if the tefillah is worth more than what was there? I hear. That'll be an interesting question. Let's say the tefillah is worth more than what he has there. Okay? I hear. So say have to be mad in that. So that's the Gemara. That's if he lights in his own place. As we learned, he goes from his place to somebody else's place. Then you do have to pay on Tomer, as the Gemara said before. So a person lends a place to his friend and says, please put your pile over here. V'higdish, you made a godish. V'hitmin, she'ein misham admei godish bilvat. Then you pay only the godish. Because the guy who allowed his friend to put a godish in his property, he He said, okay, I was responsible because I thought I gave you permission to put only wheat. I didn't give you permission to put anything else. La'adish chitim migdish soirim, soirim migdish chitim. If he told him put in wheat, he put barley. If he didn't put barley, he put wheat. Chitim v'chipa b'soirim, he put wheat and he covered with barley. Soirim v'chipa b'chitim, she'ein v'mishalem ela d'mei soirim b'lvad, you pay only soirim. So what's the reason? So pshat is, you always go to the kula for the owner. If he says chitim and he puts soirim, says, I know I told you chitim, but I saw you put soirim. I told you wheat, but you might say you put barley, so I'm assuming it's barley. If I told him barley and he put wheat, so I didn't take responsibility for wheat. I took responsibility for barley. If it was wheat covered by barley, he says I assumed the whole thing was barley. If it was barley covered by wheat, he said I didn't give you permission to put wheat. So you always the Bava has the taina, either I didn't give you permission to put it, or I go based on what I saw. I took responsibility only as much as you did. You follow my instructions, or at least what I saw, what you did in one of these cases you have, not in any other case. Okay, we say this. So we'll stop over here and continue from here, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow.